Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here and you enjoy this series, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. In today's video, we're going to fetch the list of Discord servers, also called guilds, in our backend. Let's get started. All right, here's the plan. First, we need to fetch the user's guilds, that is, all the servers the user is a member of. We'll get this information using the Discord Raw API. Why? Because currently, this is the only reliable way to retrieve a user's guilds. I've included the link to the official Discord documentation in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Next, we'll need to retrieve a list of the guilds where our bot is already added. For this, we'll use the Discord.js library. Let's implement this plan step by step and begin coding. Open your project in Visual Studio Code. Inside the Backend project, navigate to the src/lib folder. Here, we'll create a new file. Let's name it discordapi.js. This file will contain any function that interacts with the Discord API directly. Now let's install a package called Axios. Axios is a promise-based HTTP client that helps us make API requests. It works both in the browser and in Node.js environments. You might be wondering, why use Axios instead of the built-in fetch API in Node.js? Here's why. First, Axios automatically transforms response data into JSON, so you don't have to manually call .json, like with fetch. Second, it is built-in error handling that makes debugging easier and provides clearer error messages. Third, Axios supports advanced features like request timeouts, interceptors, and automatic request cancellation. And finally, it's easier to configure and delivers consistent behavior across different platforms and environments. That's why many developers, myself included, prefer using Axios over native fetch in server-side applications. Now that you know why we're using Axios, let's go ahead and install it. Open a new terminal window in your VS Code. Navigate into your Backend folder by typing cd backend. Then run the command npm install Axios. Wait for the installation to complete. Now, let's see how we can use Axios in our case. Inside the Discord API.js file, we'll create a new function. Let's call this function getUserGuilds. This will be an arrow function that accepts one parameter, the user's access token. Don't forget to export the function so we can use it in other files. Before writing the function, let's declare a constant for the Discord API base URL. We'll call this Discord_API and assign it the value https://discord.com/API/v10. Now back to our function. Make sure to mark it as async, since it involves an asynchronous HTTP request. Inside the function, we'll declare a variable named res. This variable will store the result of our Axios GET request. We'll use Axios to make a GET request to the endpoint /users/@me/guilds. So the final URL will be $discord_API /users/@me/guilds. We'll also need to pass in a headers object as part of the Axios request. In the headers, set an authorization field with the value bearer $access token. This tells Discord that we're making an authorized request on behalf of a user. Once the request is complete, we'll return res.data, which contains the actual guilds. Save the file. Now, let's make use of the routes folder. We'll also clean up any test routes we had created earlier. Open app.js and remove all 4 of the old test routes. Inside the routes folder, create a new file called index.js. This will act as the central entry point for all of our route files. I'll paste the code in and then explain what each part does line by line. Feel free to pause the video and type along before I explain. Now, let's break it down together. Import router from Express. This line imports the router function from the Express.js library. The router function allows us to create separate, modular route files, which helps keep the code organized and maintainable. Const router equals router. Here, we're creating a new router instance and storing it in a constant called router. We'll use this instance to define all routes related to our API. Router.use/user, user router. This line tells the router to forward any route starting with /user to the user router we will define shortly. For example, if the user router has a route/guilds, the final route becomes /user/guilds. At this point, we haven't created the user router yet. We'll do that in just a moment. Export default router. This line exports the router we just created. It allows us to import and plug it into our main Express app in app.js. And that's the full breakdown of the index.js route file. Each part is essential for building a clean and scalable backend structure. Now, let's move on and actually create the user router. Inside the routes folder, create a new file called user.js. This file will define an API route that allows us to fetch the user's guilds. We'll follow the same approach here. I'll paste in the code and then walk you through it line by line. You can pause and type along before we explain. Let's begin. Import router from Express. Just like earlier, we're importing the router function from Express. We'll use it to organize all user-related API routes. Const user router equals router. This creates a new router instance dedicated to user functionality. User router get /guilds, async, req, res, equals return. Here, we're defining a new get route /guilds. This route is asynchronous, meaning we'll be doing tasks like calling APIs or fetching data. Right now, it simply returns with no logic inside. We'll add that shortly. Export default user router. Finally, we export the user router so it can be imported and used in the main index.js routes file. Now go back to your app.js file. Add this line, app.use/API router. This tells the app to prefix all API routes with /API. So /user/guilds becomes /API/user/guilds. Make sure to import everything properly and save the file. Now back in index.js, import the user router file we created. There's one last thing we need to do, protect the route. We need to ensure only logged in users can access it. That's because we need the user's access token to fetch their guilds. To do this, we'll use a middleware function called requireauth provided by Clerk. If you haven't seen the video where we set up authentication using Clerk, I recommend watching it first. That way, you can follow along smoothly. Don't forget to import the middleware and apply it to the route. And remember to save the file. Now let's return to the user.js route file and add the logic to actually fetch the guilds. I'll paste the code and then walk through it step by step. Pause the video and type along if you want. First, we import the router function from Express. This allows us to define new user-related routes. Next, we import the getUserGuilds function from our custom Discord API.js file. This function fetches the list of Discord servers the user is a member of. Then, we import Clerk client and getAuth from the Clerk Express package. These let us access the currently logged in user session and their Discord access token. We also import the bot instance from our bot configuration. This helps us check which guilds the bot is already in. After that, we create a router instance for user routes. Now, we define a new route /guilds that responds to GET requests. Inside this route handler, we first extract the user ID from the request using getAuth. This tells us who is making the request. Then we use the Clerk client to fetch the Discord access token for that user. With the access token in hand, we call getUserGuilds to retrieve the list of servers the user belongs to. After receiving the list, we filter it to keep only the servers where the user has the managed server permission. This ensures we only show servers the user has control over. Next, we retrieve all the server IDs that the bot is currently in. We store these in a set for fast lookup. Finally, we prepare our response. We return a JSON object with two lists. One called withBot, which includes all servers where the bot is present, and another called withoutBot, for the ones where the bot is not yet added. And of course, we export the router so it can be used in our main routes file. And that's it. We now have a complete backend route that fetches the user's guilds, checks their permissions, and identifies whether the bot is in those guilds or not. This is a crucial part of any Discord bot dashboard, and now it's ready and working. All right, that wraps up the backend portion. I'm splitting this video into parts so each section stays focused and easy to follow. In this part, we covered how to fetch guilds using the Discord API and organize it properly in the backend. Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, tell me if you're enjoying this series. Suggest what other videos you'd like to see next. You can even join my Discord server. The link is in the description. If you found this helpful, make sure to like the video. It really motivates me to create more content. If you're excited about this series, or if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's all for today's video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.